Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. Packed house at City Council meeting. I love it. I love it. Thanks for being here tonight. We appreciate it. And if you're watching at home on TV, we certainly appreciate that as well. Today is Tuesday, August 1st, and we'd like to start this meeting by introducing you to your City Council.
Councilmember Neitzert.
Here.
Rolfing.
Here.
Selberg.
Here.
Starr.
Present.
Staley. Here. Erickson.
Here.
Erpenbach.
Here.
Kiley.
Here.
Councilors, thanks for being here. I know it's been a busy day for you. Thank you. We do start our meetings in Sioux Falls, South Dakota with an invocation. And tonight, Councilor Erpenbach is going to lead us in that invocation. We appreciate that, Councilor. What we'd ask is to please stand for the Councilor's invocation and then remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. Councilor Erpenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Will you bow your head as I pray? Dear wise and loving Creator, first, let me say thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here today. Thank you for your many and abundant blessings. Thank you for life itself, for the measure of health we need to fulfill our callings, for sustenance, and for friendship. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. I pray tonight for our mayor, for the various levels of city officials, and in particular, for my colleagues and me on this assembled council. I pray for the agenda set before us today. Please give us an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our beloved city of Sioux Falls. It is in your most blessed name that I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So this evening we have a little bit we're going to do another pledge, and so I'd like to invite the Sioux Falls Little League All-Stars up front, please, along with their coaches, as well as Travis Eastman. If you can please come up here with me. We're going to celebrate these young men and what they've done for our community and what they plan to do when they take off here soon. Coming up here right now is the Sioux Falls Little League All-Stars. It is the first team of Little League here. Most of them are taller than I am. This is crazy. But this is the first Sioux Falls Little League team that we have had here. And they have not just competed well. They have competed and are undefeated, which is amazing accomplishment for Sioux Falls. They had a tournament in Valley Springs. They went 4-0, I believe. They headed out to Rapid City, where we know Rapid City is a very competitive baseball community, and they went 3-0 out there as well. They are taking off on Thursday and headed to Indianapolis to not just represent Sioux Falls, but also to represent South Dakota and North Dakota in this tournament. It's a huge honor for us here in Sioux Falls, and they've worked their tails off to get to this area. So I'd like to hand the microphone off to Travis Eastman, and we're going to do the Little League Pledge. This is something they say before the games, and it's a great honor to be here with all of you.
Well, thank you, Christine. If we're on a baseball field, we would rise and then remove cover. So I'm going to just go ahead and let you sit comfortably, and please repeat after me as the boys will. So this is the Little League Pledge that we say before every game, and then we would have our national anthem. Gentlemen, I trust in God. I love my country. And I will respect its laws. I will play fair. And strive to win. But win or lose, I will always do my best. Then we say play ball, and then we go out and play Sioux Falls Little League Baseball.
because this is such a big deal, I would like to ask the manager, Jeff Riley, to introduce these young men. Maybe tell a little bit about your team, their ages, and introduce each of them by name. I've asked the mayor to come up here as well, and then we'll have the Parks Department because they've done a lot for this organization as well. So, Jeff?
Thank you, Christine. Thank you, guys. First and foremost, my number one favorite player, my son, number 22, Mason Riley. Number 4, Cohen Henry, Jackson Grevengood, Jack Riddell, Leo Huners, Logan Boom, Sully Schlimgen, Ty Noctaborn, Griffin Wilde, Trace Eastman, Bennett Dannebring, Ethan Bruns, Marcus Phillips, and Bo Giblin. The other coach, BJ Boom, huge asset to us, and obviously our president and other coach right now is Travis Eastman. So a little bit about these kids. It was a huge honor to have Little League started this year. We had 4 teams so far in this league, and these boys, ages from 11 to really, one just turned 13 last week, but really 11 to 12 is the primary age. They make up the all-star team of the 4 teams, and I also want to just mention that these guys are all-stars, but we just had another 11U all-star team in our very first year go out to Rapid, and they swept Rapid out there too in basically 10 runs each game. So we have a huge presence right now and a huge momentum built up for this Little League organization, and we couldn't be more honored to do it in this city and great state of South Dakota. So thank you.
Yeah, if I can have Brian and Chad, and if there's anybody else from the Sioux Falls Parks and Rec Department to come forward. Scott and Don. Okay, thank you. I didn't know who was all here. You know, when we submitted our Little League charter last fall out to Williamsport, Pennsylvania, the home of the Little League World Series, you know, we wanted to bring Little League baseball to the community of Sioux Falls, but you know, in order for us to accomplish that, we needed to have some baseball fields to play on, and we know that they're a premium in any city, and especially in Sioux Falls. So we were very fortunate to have an ally like Christine, and then our Parks and Rec department to allow us to play at the Cherry Rock Park Complex in the east side of Sioux Falls, and you know, those fields worked out perfect. Little League field's about 2/3 the size of a normal Major League Baseball field or a Legion field, so it met the specifications that we needed in order to play our Little League Baseball games. And then, you know, if we wouldn't have got those fields, there might not be a Sioux Falls Little League, and you know, these boys right here be just playing football right now and still not playing baseball. So we're very thankful, and as a small token of our appreciation, we got a plaque made. It's got a picture of all the boys on there from the tournaments that we played in, and then it reads, to the Sioux Falls Parks and Recreation Department, in appreciation of your support of Sioux Falls Little League Baseball, teaching life lessons that have value beyond the playing field. And then the baseball here is signed by all 14 of our players, and then do their little number sign and then what number they are. And I told them, you know, this baseball isn't that big and there's 14 of you, so you need to kind of sign accordingly. So on behalf of Sioux Falls Little League, just a small token of our appreciation for, you know, getting us off the ground. And if it wasn't for you gentlemen, you know, we wouldn't be here tonight. So thank you very much.
So they have the banner from when they won, and they'd like to display that proudly. And so if you want to scooch in, boys, we'll take a quick picture. Parks Department, if you want to stay here to be in this picture, please, that would be great. I just want to remind you, they leave Thursday. They are making a big trip to Indianapolis area. Their game is on Sunday. Excuse me. Their game is on Sunday. It will be on ESPN3 at noon. So you can catch that, or you can catch it at some of the other local establishments as well. So please cheer them on. This is a great opportunity for us to support South Dakota, North Dakota Little League Baseball. Thank you. Good luck, boys. Go represent. Go, boys. We do high fives here, right? Good luck, good luck, good luck. Thank you. Thanks again, thanks.
Councilor Erickson, thank you so much for that opportunity. Appreciate it. And go Sioux Falls. We'll now move on to our consent agenda. Council, any motions, changes?
Move to accept. Second.
Councilor Rolfing has made a motion to approve our consent agenda, seconded by Councilor Chair Kiley. All those in favor, a roll call vote, please. Sorry.
Councilmembers Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Kiley.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Thank you. Our regular agenda tonight, Council, any changes to that?
Move to approve Erickson.
Second, Selberg.
Councilor Erickson has made a motion to approve our regular agenda, seconded by Councilor Selberg. No discussion. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Kiley.
Yes.
That is also passed 8-0. Thank you. Folks, I know we have a busy agenda tonight. There's some items coming up later that I know you'd want to speak about, and we look forward to that. But this is also what's called the public input portion of our meeting. It's an opportunity for any citizen to come forward. You can speak on any topic that is of interest to you. What we'd ask is just a couple of things. Introduce yourself to the people of our town. Just give us your name. Please keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. We'd appreciate that. We'd ask you to just acknowledge all of us, speak to the group as a whole versus picking out one particular counselor, as well as just we'd ask you to be respectful and professional and South Dakota nice. So again, welcome. Anybody want to speak to the council tonight? Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Brian Majers. I reside at 811 North Fairfax, and I'm the president of the South Dakota Multi-Housing Association, and I'm chair of the board this year. Mr. Mayor and members of the council, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. There are a number of leased residential property owners here with me in support of my statement. In the best interest, of course, of your time, I will be the only one speaking. But with your permission, Mr. Mayor, I would like the property owners to at least stand and be recognized who's here with us tonight.
Thank you.
This evening, the council will be considering changes to the city's rental registration ordinance. South Dakota Multi-Housing Association and its members support the goal of requiring the name of an additional contact person for the registered rental properties. However, we do not support the proposed change to the rental registration ordinance, which states the name, phone number, and mailing address of the responsible party who shall be authorized to make or order repairs for services for the property. This responsible person, according to city code, would be included in any legal actions against the property owner. Our concerns are, first, a neighbor or relative could agree to keep an eye on the rental property while the owner is in Arizona for the winter and not realize the full legal commitment of being the responsible party. We have serious concerns about the use of the word authorized and its implication of the existence of a contract to manage the property. Third, having the authority to order repairs raises the question of who is going to pay for the work, the owner, or the responsible party. 4, how is the city going to assure that the person listed as the responsible party has agreed to be the responsible party and fully comprehends the level of that responsibility? 5, in the end, the good friend who agrees to keep an eye on things with no ownership or compensation could find themselves on the receiving end of city legal action. Therefore, we could not recommend, and I question if anyone would recommend for a friend, relative, neighbor, or business associate to agree to be that person. And finally, we would encourage the city to assure that all city departments uniformly use the rental registration list. South Dakota Multi-Housing Association recognizes the importance of, first, being part of and the central role of the private sector in any effort to improve Sioux Falls' core neighborhoods. Second, having responsible leased residential property owners and managers. Third, the importance of educating property owners and residents as to their rights and, most importantly, their responsibilities. And finally, addressing the increasing need for the private sector to build and refurbish affordable market-rate workforce housing. We look forward to being part of any community effort to improve the quality and quantity of affordable workforce housing in Sioux Falls and South Dakota. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Welcome.
Good evening, council members and Mayor Huther. My name is Lorraine Lundquist, and I currently serve as the Vice President of the Sioux Falls Parks and Recreation Board. I am midway through my second term of service to the city on this board. And I would just like to speak briefly tonight in support of the Parks and Recreation Department and the Parks and Recreation Board as it is currently structured. Now, we all know that our Parks and Rec Department is among the very best of the best. In the fall of 2015, it was reaccredited by CAPRA, which is the Commission for Accreditation of Park and Recreation Agencies. Accreditation by CAPRA is a distinguished mark of excellence for park and recreation agencies and a strong measure of an agency's overall quality of operations, management, and service to the community. There are approximately 14,000 parks and recreation agencies nationwide, and of that number, only 1% receives this designation. And to receive accreditation, our Parks and Rec Department completed a very detailed application and self-assessment report, as well as a site visit by a committee of experienced park and recreation professionals, and then a final review and decision by the commission. And our department fully met all 37 fundamental standards and 96% of the remaining 114 non-fundamental standards. And validation such as this does not occur in a vacuum, I can assure you. It only happens because of the cooperation and the mutual respect between city administration, Parks and Rec administration, Parks and Rec employees, and yes, our Parks and Rec board. The Parks and Rec department of our city is undeniably operating at a very high level and is recognized as such both locally and nationally. So it begs the question, why a sweeping change would be proposed for a department that is functioning so very well? Now, every time that you see something that you think should be changed or improved upon, it does not always need to be done by bylaw change or via an ordinance. Oftentimes that just has unintended consequences. Now, if you as a city council member, if you know of someone that you think would be a great addition to our board or any one of the other 40+ boards that we have here in our city, by all means, be a reference. Provide an introduction. Write a letter of recommendation. But do not limit the mayor when it comes to citizen board appointments. The mayor should be allowed to choose the most qualified person at the time and not have his or her hands tied because that person doesn't live in the right zip code. And just a gentle reminder that this board is an advisory board, which we provide recommendations to the mayor and to the city council, and final approval of any management contracts or budget items that come before us. That final approval rests solely with you, the city council, which is comprised of district representation as well as at-large members. So please keep in mind that we are private citizens, not public officials. We're simply a group of concerned volunteers who come together to collaborate to help to make our Parks and Rec the very, very best that they can be. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lorraine. Welcome.
Sierra Bruce, Sioux Falls. I want to say the park board is really good and that, but as far as the professionalism, where is any of them apologizing to a council member that they were very rude and unprofessional with? Diversity needs to be on this Parks Board here. Minneapolis is supporting this ordinance to go in effect. If this ordinance goes into effect, the mayor vetoes it, I think we need a petition drive. I think that we need each district to be represented here. We're not talking about your average citizens on this park board here. We're talking about the rich. Second of all, I would like to thank the police department for getting a community service resource officer. I have been at that police station for months and months to get a community resource officer. I am pushing for community service officers for Sioux Falls as well. I don't know if it's going to happen this year or not, but we do need that here. All of the landlords and everybody in the back with multi-housing and all of this and that, they need to come together, and we need to start getting crime reduced in low-income housing, because low-income housing is becoming a project. We have murders that are happening. We had murders. We're at 6 murders this year. I said by the time this year ends, we're going to have 8. So all of these organizations that want to get involved in the crime, let's get involved. Let's start knocking on doors. And if I can do it in Prairie View Heights and get people to call the police like they did 3 weeks ago, these organizations can do the same thing. So let's make it happen. Let's hit these streets. I have a full-time job also, and I'm not rich either. And I make it my point to get to these low-income neighborhoods and get the crime under control here. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sierra. Welcome.
Mike Gunn, Sioux Falls. I also agree that we need to have the Parks Department more versatile and have more people from other districts. What I heard here tonight is how wonderful job they're doing, and they are doing a pretty good job. However, it was just actually today that I was driving by a park that's up on the north end, and it's lacking a lot of stuff. It has the old rocking horse, I don't know what you call it, little spring-loaded rocking horse thing. They came out of Sherman Park when they took and transferred. But I'm not seeing all of this greatness all through the city evenly. And it needs to be dealt with so that people can be heard where they live and what they have for parks in their area. Kids need a place to go. We all agree with that. Problem is if we only have several places, it's being controlled by one area. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Ann Noctegal. I am one of the 7 board members of the Sioux Falls Parks and Recreation Board. And I can tell you that it has been a pleasure to serve. I've been there a little over 2 years now, appointed by the mayor and also by the council here. So it's been amazing. I've enjoyed getting to know the fellow board members and also understanding really how the city works and really what an amazing park system that we have. It really is a jewel. Before I address Councilor Staley's proposal to create districts for the Parks Board, I really want to first read out loud our mission, vision, and our core values. The mission of Sioux Falls Parks and Recreation is to provide a quality system of parks and recreation facilities and positive leisure opportunities that are available to all persons in the community. The vision of Sioux Falls Parks and Recreation is to provide a comprehensive mix of high-quality parks and recreation programs, facilities, and services that contribute to a quality of life that is unparalleled in the region. Core values include the following: engagement. We want to promote a culture of interactive participation and authentic, respectful communication. Collaboration. We believe in cultivating partnerships to maximize the quality of the parks and recreation system. Resilience. We accomplish our goals by developing a resilient, committed workforce that can adapt and thrive. Continuous improvement. We focus on innovation to continuously improve our programs, facilities, and services. And lastly, excellence. We are passionate about the delivery of exceptional experiences in every aspect of our work to fulfill our mission and vision. I have personally seen the Parks Board and staff live these values day in and day out, Parks Board Director Don Kearney and his staff should be commended for their tireless work to improve our city's parks and recreation system. With respect to Councillor Staley's proposal to create districts and therefore geographical diversity within the Parks Board, I will say this: board diversity comes in many ways: gender, professional experience, age, race. In other words, much more than where we live. As I have stated before, our board looks at the entire big picture, and we do what is right for Sioux Falls as a whole, not just a certain neighborhood. Districts, I believe, politicize the process. Do we really want to create an atmosphere where we're forced to decide what's right or wrong based on where we live within the city? I would submit we do not. I believe this proposal would drive Sioux Falls down the wrong path. I respectfully encourage the council to consider all points of view before deciding on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Folks, does anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
Tim Stanga, missed you guys. Haven't been here for a few weeks. I guess the deal about the park board, I guess being able to redistrict would be able to help the city council person in each district to be able to give them somebody to be able to go to and talk to, and to be able to have the citizens go to the person that is in the district that is working for the park board to either answer questions or get input to where the city council person in the district could ask. What do we need in this neighborhood? It's just like my neighborhood. We closed down Meldrum Park during the summer. We couldn't have worked on it in April, May, June, or April and May. We shut the park down, we tear everything out, and we're redoing the park. Well, where do the kids go and play? We could have did it in September or October. We could have tore that park up. But we waited until the middle of summer to do the park. Now, did anybody from the Parks Board come to the east side neighborhood and ask them, hey, is it all right if we tear up the park so we can redo it, but the kids have no place to go to play? So why would you do it during when the kids are out of school when you could have did it when the kids were in school? The deal about the rental properties, why do we pick on renters? Why do we pick on the rental properties when we got a lot of homeowners that can't even keep up their houses? Who do we call on that? Do we have a secondary person that you call on a homeowner that can't keep up their house or don't care about what the neighborhood looks like? Do we have a secondary person that is going to be signed onto that house stating that, okay, if you're not going to be liable to fix up your house, are we going to call your mom or your dad or your aunt or your uncle to give a second opinion on how your house should look in the neighborhood? I just don't understand. But the thing is, did we have meetings with rental property owners? Did we get any input from rental property owners? I mean, that's just a question that I have rental properties too. But did the city, when they came up to me and they wanted me to pay on snow removal, did they send me a letter in the mail? No. Did they call me on the phone? No. They sent it to my renter. I didn't get no notification, but yet I have to be on a rental registration. Just amazing on how we do things. But since we've had that rental registration, I have people send stuff in the mail. It's just amazing on how many people know how many rentals you have, and I want to buy this rental, I want to buy this house, I want to buy this house. Where do they get that information from? Don't you think that should be private? If you guys want my information, do you think that it should be given to the public? I think it's a travesty.
Greetings. My name is David Zokaitis, and I like to study and think and ponder and analyze and not always complain, but at least offer a good solution. Drug prohibition is such a big deal, and it's not complicated enough that this is part one of a three-part mini-series, so I'll be back with parts 2 and 3. All right, so we should pick some suitable terminology to start. In common vernacular, you hear about this war on drugs, and I'd like to get away from that kind of terminology just because it's too radical, it's too emotional, it's not scientific enough. If you want to figure out what's going on in the world, well then, accurate terminology is really helpful. So we're going to stick with drug prohibition and discard war on drugs. Now, I've got this long hair and I'm talking about drugs. I just want everybody to know that I don't do them personally. Too much of an athlete for that kind of thing. But I am really interested in evidence and evidence-based policies. That's me. That's who I am. All right, now, if you read the newspapers, you get all this crisis mode and drug abuse is growing and it's going to kill everybody and causes crime, and methamphetamine use is particularly nasty. But how true is all of this? Well, let's go get some data. From the U.S. Department of Health, should be a reputable source. Looks like drug use is stabilizing. Oh, isn't that cool? It's not something you hear very often. Most drug use is going down. Meth is going up a little bit, but it's a small problem, small percentage of the total. Marijuana use is getting a little bigger, but that's a relatively minor drug. And check this out. Half of young adults have used marijuana. Half. All right, and then there's alcohol users. That's pretty popular, about a quarter of the population. And another quarter of the population does tobacco. You should call those drugs too. They're not really good for people. Here's a chart I found. Most things are going down. Marijuana's going up. Not such a bad trend. Looks all right. Now, if you think about what I've presented so far, you'll notice that drug use is pretty popular. Half of young adults have tried marijuana. Well, obviously, drug-based prohibition isn't stopping marijuana. There's too many people out there smoking weed to put them all in jail. So maybe we need to think about what we're doing and why. Again, rhetoric says we have to keep people safe. And it doesn't cost very much and it's highly effective. Well, let's try to see if that's accurate. We know that marijuana use is large and 50% of the population's done it. We've got like the world's second highest incarceration rate. That should send a shiver down your spine. Civil rights, well, anytime people talk about drugs, there go your civil rights. We subsidize terrorism, drugs out, guns in, not what we want to do. Now, this is, like I said, part one of a three-part mini-series, so it's kind of it. But as usual, try to enjoy life no matter how bad the war on drugs is. And with that, good evening.
Thank you, David. Folks, did anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
Scott Arisman, Sioux Falls. I know that recently there's been all kinds of press about the 91,000 tickets that were sold out at the event center for Garth Brooks and the huge economic impact of those sales. I'll have to say that I bought my first ticket to a show at the event center. It's not Garth Brooks, it's the Foo Fighters. I have not purchased a ticket. I've been to 3 events out there, but this is the first time I've actually paid for a ticket to an event. I don't really like arena shows that much, but I can't see the Foo Fighters at the Icon Lounge, so I don't really have a choice in the matter. What I'm here to talk about is that it was nice that the Garth Brooks actually controlled his ticket sales because we could actually see real numbers and real statistics of who was buying the tickets. And the Brooks campus said that 58% of the tickets were purchased in Sioux Falls or in the area. That is about $4.5 million in ticket sales that go directly to Garth Brooks, out the door. Now, that's a lot of money going out the door in 1 week in this town. What's the solution? Well, I like to go to local shows. I like to go to local shows and local bars, and I like to see local entertainment. Get on Facebook, you can get about 20 different events in this town that are all local. Local business owners put it on. You got Total Drag, you got Icon, you got The District, you got Big's Bar. There's all kinds of places to put on local bands. What's great about when you spend money at these local businesses is that money goes into their pocket and they re-spend it in the community several times. When you give money to Garth Brooks, he puts it in his pocket and he takes it out of town. I encourage people to support local entertainment and local acts and businesses, not just for buying clothes and shopping, but just for your entertainment value. Try to spend as much money as you can locally in local businesses. It'll have a much far economic impact than giving Mr. Brooks $7.5 million that he just basically walks away with. And it goes to the other thing too, that I think we have way too many regulations on local businesses for when they want to put events on. I've heard some pretty atrocious different ordinances and regulations we try to put on. Should we make it easier for our local business owners to do these events? Make it more profitable for them so that when they make some money on these shows that they expand their businesses and spend that money locally? Like I said, I just encourage people, use local entertainment, spend your money that way. And then I have one other thing that kind of goes to entertainment. I've been going to Jazz Fest for over 15 years. It's a great event. I love going there. And I totally understand they support Jazz Fest by beverage sales. But when it's over 100 degrees outside and we're having an event in a public park, we should have at least one water fountain that works. Now, they always conveniently hide the water fountain behind some porta potties, but I know where it was at. So I always try to, when I'm drinking beer, I try to drink just as much water as beer so I don't get dehydrated. Water fountain was shut off. We had probably 100,000 people at an event, and if you didn't have any money, you didn't get any water. Now, I've been to outdoor festivals all across the country. There's usually one or two public water fountains of some kind. I have no idea why the Parks Department or Jazz Fest or whoever decided to shut off the only public water fountain in Yankton Trail Park. Did the soccer tournament, did they have to buy their waters at $3 a bottle, or did we have the public fountains on? Let's think about that. Thanks.
Thanks, Scott. Welcome.
My name is Jason Reisdorfer. I am the newest member of the Sioux Falls Park and Rec Board. During my short time serving on this board, I've been blown away by the level of knowledge and professionalism that the other members on this board have demonstrated. For that, Mayor Mike and the councilors, I applaud your efforts in composing such a strong board. Thank you. I'm very honored to be serving alongside these individuals that you have appointed. I cannot wait to see what things we can accomplish over the next several years. With respect to Councilor Staley's proposed ordinance, I feel compelled to speak up in opposition. It's not that I can't see merit in a proposal such as this. I just don't agree with it at this time. I think the number one goal in appointing citizens to this and all the other 40-plus citizen boards should be to find the very best candidate for the job. Ideally, I would think someone with time, energy, passion, and a demonstrated history of leadership should be probably at the forefront of the selection process. I don't think that the part of town you live in helps define any of those things. Sure, somebody that lives directly across the street from a certain park might have more intimate knowledge of that park than someone that lives on the other side of town, but this board is intended to serve the entire city. As I mentioned at the park board meeting a couple weeks ago, I live literally 1 minute away from Family Park near 12th and T. Ellis, but I've never been there once. However, I live almost 20 miles away from Harbordon Park, which is about a 45-minute drive in 5:30 traffic, and I've probably been there close to 1,000 times. You see, that doesn't qualify or disqualify me from trying to make good decisions about either park. Folks, this board is so much more than a park board. It is a park and recreation board. Why is no one concerned about geographical representation for the more than 50 recreation programs that this board influences? If the logic is true that only people qualified to make recommendations about Terrace Park are the ones that live in the immediate vicinity, then why wouldn't it also be true that only people eligible to make decisions about the adult kickball leagues or youth soccer leagues are members that also participate in those activities? Contrary to many of the comments people are making, this is not personal for me. My fellow board members and I completely understand that this proposal is designed to not take effect until all the current members have served their terms. We know this isn't about us. I think the fact that the entire Park and Rec Board unanimously voted against this proposal in last week's meeting clearly signals that we feel strongly that this is the wrong decision for the city for many more years to come than just now. There have been so many qualified citizens that have served on this board over the years, people like Councilor Erpenbach, business leaders like Pat Lloyd, Kevin Nyberg, and even South Dakota Representative Ann Hayek. I couldn't imagine turning any one of those folks away who were willing to sacrifice their time and energy to volunteer simply because they didn't live in the part of town that a vacancy called for. Perhaps finding all those qualified candidates is exactly why the Sioux Falls Park and Rec Department is so highly regarded on the national level. I urge the City Council, take a look at what we've got, figure out how we've gotten there, and I urge you to stop searching for a solution to something that isn't currently a problem. Thank you.
Jason, thank you. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Don Kearney with Parks and Recreation, and I'd just like to add a little bit more to the proposed Parks and Recreation composition ordinance. Certainly history provides that investments are made all across the city and throughout our park system based in need and benefit, not on location. Every park, the entire bike trail system, and other parks and recreation amenities are maintained and improved regardless of location. One great example is the location of the Midco Aquatic Center, which was purposely constructed in a centralized location for easy access to public transportation and other services. The Parks and Recreation Board is somewhat unique in where it holds its meetings. We hold our meetings all across the entire city. We go out to essentially every neighborhood in the entire city to encourage participation in our board meetings, and also so our board members can see the entire park system and go to those key locations across our city. The other thing I'd share with you is that the example of Minneapolis, Minnesota has been provided where this policy has been put in place. Minneapolis proper is more than twice the size of Sioux Falls and has a significantly larger metropolitan area. I would also share that it's also an independent elected semi-autonomous board responsible for governing, maintaining, and developing the Minneapolis park system. They have their own taxing levy. They approve all their capital expenditures, their operating expenses, and very little involvement from the city of Minneapolis. So it's certainly an apples and oranges comparison. And then the earlier comment, the question about when we went through the process of replacing the playground equipment at Meldrum Park, I can tell you that we did meet with the Whittier Neighborhood Association and informed them not only of the project that was going to take place in Meldrum Park, but other projects that we had planned for their particular neighborhood. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Thank you very much for your time. Item number 24.
Item 24 is a new 2017-18 packaged malt beverage South Dakota Farm Winery license for 57th Street Lodging Partners Corporation, Hampton Inn and Suites, 3701 West Avera Drive, CUP not required, pending final inspections per building services. Item 25 is a new 2017-18 packaged malt beverage South Dakota Farm Winery license for Meat Lodge LLC, Meat Lodge, 3505 North Cliff Avenue, CUP not required. 26 is a new 2017-18 retail malt beverage South Dakota Farm Winery for the Hideout LLC, the Hideout, 1213 North Cliff Avenue, CUP not required, pending final inspections per fire and health. Item 27 is a new 2017-18 packaged malt beverage license for Convenience Plus Incorporated, 1104 East 10th Street, CUP not required. Item 28 is a new 2017 off-sale delivery license for Dominique Fontenelle, The Liquid Warehouse, 230 South Phillips Avenue, Suite 100. Item 29 is a transfer of a 2017 retail wine license with video lottery terminals from Tri-State Gaming Full House Casino, 5005 West 12th Street, to TJT Incorporated Jokers Casino 3, 5005 West 12th Street. Item 30 is a transfer of a 2017-18 retail malt beverage license with video lottery terminals from Tri-State Gaming Full House Casino, 5005 West 12th Street, to TJT Incorporated Jokers Casino 3, 5005 West 12th Street. Item 31 is a special one-day wine license for Butterfly House in Marine Cove, 4320 South Oxbow Avenue, for a fundraiser on August 8, 2017. Item 32 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Minnehaha and Lincoln County Democrats to be operated at 758 South Phillips Avenue for a fundraiser on August 17, 2017. Item 33 is a special one-day malt beverage license for Sickies ND Incorporated Sickies Garage to be operated in Sickies Garage parking lot, 2616 South Louise Avenue, for the Bike Night finale on August 23, 2017. Item 34 is a special one-day liquor license for Hy-Vee Incorporated, all occasions by Hy-Vee, to be operated at The Point is to Serve Church, 506 North Kiwanis Avenue, for a wedding reception on September 16, 2017.
Jamie, good evening.
Good evening, Jamie. With licensing. Item 24 is a new hotel that is requesting this license to sell packaged beer and farm wines to their guests. Item 25 is a request from a retail store to sell packaged beer and South Dakota farm wines. Item 26 is a request for a bar under new ownership to sell malt beverages and South Dakota farm wines. Item 27 is a new convenience store to sell packaged malt beverages. Item 28 is a new license type that was approved during this last legislative session. It became effective on July 1st of 2017 and allows for the delivery of alcohol with very specific requirements outlined in South Dakota codified law. And if I can take a moment, I'll read those to you. This SDCL 35-4-127 states that a licensee licensed to sell off-sale liquor may apply for an off-sale delivery license to deliver alcohol to a consumer within city limits. The alcohol for delivery shall be purchased in person and on-site at the licensee's off-sale premise. The minimum purchase for delivery shall be $150. And the delivery shall be made during the hours of operation pursuant to 35-4-81, which in short states 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. on any day except Christmas Day. And it has to be delivered by an employee who is at least 21 years of age. The employee must obtain the signature of the person 21 years or older prior to delivery. And the employee shall request that the person signing for the delivery display a valid age-bearing photo ID verifying that the person is 21 years or older. The documentation verifying this identification must be retained by the licensee for 1 year. And then it goes on to talk about the if they violate this and deliver to somebody under 21, they are subject to a civil penalty of $1,000 for the first offense and $2,000 for any subsequent offense. Items 29 and 30 are transfer requests due to a change in ownership. Items 31 through 34 are all special one-day requests. However, on item 32, I need to request an amendment to change the date of this event from August 17th to August 18th. And I'd be happy to answer any questions for you.
Jamie, thank you. Councilor Starr.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jamie, on item 28, later we're doing item number 50, which actually puts the fee in place in the licensing. Are we a little ahead of the cart with the approving a delivery license before we actually have the ordinance in place to have a fee and the procedures in place?
Well, state law does allow, as I read to you, South Dakota Codified Law 35-4-127 does allow for it. The item later on in the meeting is technically, I guess I'll refer to Dave, but a housekeeping item to align it with state law and to just basically put it in our ordinances that fee is being charged.
But we
or
don't
can be
have a
charged.
fee in place now or the ordinance in place to approve this, is it?
Well, state law does allow for it.
David, any comments, sir?
Well, since state law already allows it, Counselor, we should process that application in a timely manner, but certainly the fee would apply in the future, so.
So this applicant isn't paying a fee, and as long as you get your application in before we put the ordinance in place, there's your tip of the night for everybody who's listening if you want an alcohol delivery license. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Councilor Starr. Appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve items 24 through 34.
Second.
Thank you. Council Vice Chair Erickson's made a motion to approve items 24 through 34, seconded by Councilor Chair Kiley. Any other? Yes, Council Vice Chair Erickson.
I'll make a motion to amend item 32 by changing the date August 17th, 2017 to August 18th, 2017.
Second, Nitzert.
Thank you, Councilor Erickson. Councilor Nitzert, there's been a motion to amend item 32 by changing August 17, 2017 to August 18, 2017. A roll call vote, please.
And this is on the vote
On
to
the
amend.
On the amendment.
Thank you. Councilmember Nitzert.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Kiley.
Yes.
Councilors, thank you. That amendment is passed 8-0. If there's no other discussion, a vote on the amended motion.
Council members Nitzert.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Kiley.
Yes.
Councilors, that is also passed 8-0. Item 35, please.
Item 35 is a second reading. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located at northeast corner of East 6th Street and North Bonson Avenue from the AG Agricultural District to the LW Live Work District, petition number 6219-2017, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval 5-1.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor
Yes,
Steele.
I will be recusing myself, and I gave the reasons at the first reading. If anyone has any questions about that, please feel free to contact me. Thank you.
Councilor Staley. Michael.
Mike Cooper, Planning and Building Services. This is an application submitted by the owners of the property, Lois and Kelly Brown. The property is located at the northeast corner of East 6th Street and North Bonson Avenue. The site consists of approximately 6 acres. There's an existing single-family residence on the property, and they also keep horses, along with a small orchard area. The property is surrounded on the north side by Ann Sullivan Elementary School, on the east side by Kenny Anderson Park. On the south side is primarily single-family residential. And then on the west side of Bonson Avenue is 60 units of multifamily. And then as we go north of there, there's twin homes, and then it goes to single-family residential. The applicant has submitted a rezoning request to the classification from agricultural to what we call live work. And part of that application indicated that they would like to have the opportunity with this new zoning to look at mixed-use development on the 6 acres of land. The live work zoning district, which we don't see a lot of, but it offers a pretty wide variety of potential land uses, including everything from office to multifamily residential, to senior housing, small retail development, churches, schools, open space, twin homes, and townhomes. One of the things to keep in mind with this request for the rezone is the owners were not able to submit a proposed development plan or site plan. They've indicated that at this time they do not have a potential buyer or interested developer that we could look at in terms of a proposed development plan. The city planning staff did take it upon ourselves, at my direction, to put together a graphic concept just for purposes of looking at what potentially could be developed on this site with the Live Work zoning district. And we also utilized this when we met with representatives of the Oakview Neighborhood Association. But we're emphasizing tonight that we are not using this in terms of a mechanism to decide whether or not to approve the rezoning request, but it was just for illustrative purposes only. So if we go back to the overhead, when we met with the neighborhood association and also looked at the surrounding land uses, with the live-work designation, because it does provide such a wide variety of options, and because we did not have a proposed development plan to review like we typically would, the planning staff made a recommendation to approve the rezoning with 3 conditions. The first one was looking at putting a cap on the potential number of multifamily units. With the 6 acres, looking at an average of 12 units per acre, we came up with a recommendation for 72 multifamily units. And that was based on a couple of things. It was based on kind of a medium family residential density that we've seen in other areas, as well as looking at providing space on this 6 acres for additional uses other than just multifamily residential. That's kind of the main concept of a live-work zoning district, is you have mixed uses. It's not all going to be one type of land use. Along with that was the parking. So with those 72 units, there's 1.5 spaces per unit for 2 bedrooms or less. And so you looked at what the traffic impacts were going to be on Bonson Avenue. But we also looked at if it was senior housing, which would have fewer parking requirements, fewer trips per day generated, that could go up to 96. So that's how we came up with that recommendation, along with discussions, as I said, with the Oakview neighborhood. The other 2 conditions that we talked about was a stormwater drainage plan, which is really a standard requirement for any development. But since we didn't have a site plan to go by, we just wanted to put everybody on notice that that stormwater management plan would have to go through city engineering review and approval. And then the third thing that we talked about was the offset of Bonson Avenue, 6th Street, and Locust Avenue. That's been that way for many, many years. And we felt that this was an opportunity to potentially look at preserving future right-of-way to realign that and provide future turning lanes. Eventually, 6th Street is going to connect east to Veterans Parkway, and eventually Bonson Avenue will connect north to Rice Street. So we know that the traffic counts today are pretty manageable, and we know that we've made improvements in working with the school district and the PATH committee to look at pedestrian connectivity, other things that are trying to address in the morning during school when the parents drop off their kids, and in the afternoon when they pick them back up again. But with this future development, we saw this as an opportunity to again look at preserving the potential realignment of that intersection and future improvements. So that was the rationale for the 3 recommended conditions. When it went to Planning Commission, the Oakview neighborhood was in support of the rezoning with those conditions. Lois and Kelly Brown, the owners of the property, were not in favor of the condition, particularly the one putting a limitation on multifamily. So the Planning Commission did recommend by a vote of 5-1 to bring it forward to you with the live-work rezoning, but without any conditions. You have since then received correspondence from the Oakview Neighborhood Association, again reinforcing their desire that if the live-work does go forward, that there would be the conditions of addressing primarily the density of residential development. With the live-work zoning district, we're roughly calculating that if we did not put any limitations on multifamily, that it could potentially accommodate up to 172 apartment units on that 6 acres. And then looking at what the impacts would be of parking and traffic flow. So that's a concern by the neighborhood. At the same time, you've also received a timeline from the Browns, kind of outlining how this process started going back to April of 2014, the different discussions that we've had over the years, the different looks that we've had for development of this property, and again, reinforcing from their perspective that they would like to keep their options as flexible as possible for what potentially is going to develop on the 6 acres of land. So from the staff perspective, we have tried to intervene, again, without the ability of showing anybody a site plan or a development plan, of trying to address what the neighbors would like to see, but also respecting what the Browns have brought to us in terms of a live-work concept, which we think could be pretty successful in this particular area. So that's where we're at tonight. We still have a difference of opinion about what is being recommended to you as the City Council.
Mike, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Folks, this is a second reading, so you actually have the opportunity to engage the council on this topic. And I know there's some folks here who would like to do that, and we welcome that. Basically, the same rules apply. Just come forward, state your name, please. Keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, if at all possible. And probably one other thing. If you can keep your comments unique, that certainly would be appreciated by the council. Repeating the same comment over and over again doesn't really pay a lot of dividends. And this is a topic that we've been talking about, as you know, for a long, long time. But again, welcome. We look forward to your conversation. And David, go right ahead.
Greetings. I'm David Zokaitis, and I like to look at hard problems. I do that for a living. I like to look at hard problems and come up with a reasonable solution and try to make everybody as reasonably happy as can reasonably be done. So that's what I'm going to do with this problem, and we'll try to figure out what's going on here. We've got 6 acres of agricultural land in the middle of the city. Beautiful place. I went out there and took a look, and it's a beautiful, pretty place. Current land use there can't stay that way. Taxes are too high. Something's going to happen. It's going to get rezoned. But there's a lot of controversy. And I've tried to go around and look at all the different parties and what they're interested in and maybe what their motives and goals are. Okay, so we've got the owner. Oh, it's a beautiful place. It's their family home. Property taxes are kind of high. They've been going up last few years. Park would be nice. If they can't turn it into a park, maybe they'll be able to sell it for a fortune. But they're kind of having trouble with figuring out what to do next, and politics and all. Then there's the neighbors. They want to keep a beautiful community, and they like the status quo because it's a cool place. Sometimes the neighborhood can say no to zoning changes. They're not really interested in overly dense land use, and I think some of their expectations might be a little bit on the unrealistic side. Then the county's involved because they set the tax rate, and they have to make an accurate assessment of what the property is worth. Zoning commission's involved. They approve the zoning changes. Historically, it seems as though the zoning commission kind of leans towards the site owners. Maybe that's because they're not people. I don't really know, but that's kind of what I hear. Then there's the zoning staff that really studies all this zoning stuff and looks at land use planning. Sometimes they disagree with the commission, so that's kind of weird, but life is what it is. Then there's the park staff. Hey, they make parks. Hard to disagree with that part. Okay, now this last zoning request, it seems like there's some unresolved issues, and other people will talk about them at length, and looks like maybe a better proposal might be in order. So I came up with one. Now, I also heard that there's this other issue that a counselor was recommended against putting up a foundation to put a park together. It seems kind of strange because with a conflict of interest, usually the problem is that you're trying to get your friend to make more money on a deal. But if you try to make a foundation to make a park, usually your friend makes less money because they sell the land kind of cheap. So I don't really know what the heck went on with that particular issue, but figured while I was going through it, there it is. So now if we want to make a park there with those 6 acres of ag land, I think here's how we could do it. We talked to the county. I haven't done that yet because no time. But if the county could roll back the property tax rate for a couple of years, then we got some breathing room. Everybody's cool. There goes the fires. And the city, when they make parks, they contribute a little bit of money, not $1 million, but they got some money. Then if we get a community foundation, maybe we'll add up the amount of available money, and the owner might be interested in getting a little bit less cash for the deal. And then if we delay the closing for a few years, then, there's no crisis. And we have time to put this foundation together, and then the community can help plan a park. But if that doesn't happen, I expect all those beautiful trees are going to get ripped out, and offices aren't going to go in because that's not an office space, and probably going to end up with some medium density apartments, just speaking practically. And of course, you got to enjoy life while you're talking about this kind of stuff. There's a view of that lovely park-type residence, and I think I've said enough for one night.
David, thank you. Folks, did anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Tony Burke, and we live at 804 North Caleb Avenue. Again, appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all tonight. I know, as the Mayor mentioned, there's been a lot of conversation around this, and we're really sticking to what we've been trying to do from the get-go, is to really find something amicable to be representative of the neighborhood, the city, and really just do best by everybody. So we're going to stick to that as well. You've read the report that's been formally submitted through the first reading. The neighborhood certainly does not support ag to live work without conditions. That's not something we think that's appropriate. We also believe that that is precedent setting for the City of Sioux Falls to rezone it ag to live work without conditions, without a site plan. So that's a real concern. We do support ag to live work with the recommended conditions that the City Planning Department put forward. We've had a lot of collaborative discussions around that. We think that that's a viable alternative just to going straight ag to live work. We've heard previous testimony as of late about property rights. There's no question that everybody's property rights come into play here, but there's also 200 plus other property owners that have property rights as well and are going to be living in this community for the foreseeable future. So please consider that as part of your thought process as well. If this goes, again, if this rezoning goes through without a site plan on an infill property, this is precedent setting. And again, I want to remind you of that. And again, we welcome continued conversation and engagement from you and the leadership here and the staff. We think we can come to an amicable solution. It may not happen tonight, but we believe that we will get there. But again, we can't support, the neighborhood cannot support ag to live work without conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate that. Welcome.
My name is Margie Smotherman, and I live in the Oakview neighborhood. I live there on North Locust Avenue at the bottom of that slide up there. My husband and I have lived in Sioux Falls for 9 years, and we love Sioux Falls. I work for an international company, and before meeting me, my clients and coworkers thought that North and South Dakota were one big state. But now they realize that Sioux Falls is a great place to be, through articles in USA Today, the ARP magazine, Wall Street Journal. They point this out to me constantly. And because of your involvement as the City Council, the City Planning Department and Commission, downtown retailers, Sioux Falls is a great place to be. I recently reviewed the 285-page Shape Sioux Falls 2040 document. Fabulous. That itself is a testimony to what you all are looking for the future. My topic today is density, and why the recommendation of medium density in the live-work zoning should be kept with the zoning proposal for that corner of 6th and Bonson. Studies have shown that high density causes problems. You have decreased air quality, increase in traffic, increase in noise levels, increasing crime, less green space, and even a change in the stress level. The recommendation that was included in the last rezoning proposal from the Planning Department was that land use, multifamily housing, will be a maximum units, number of 96 units for senior housing and 72 units for non-senior housing. Mr. Cooper does a great job of explaining that. And he explained why that 72 units is not just an arbitrary number. That is the maximum units of the medium density in this wonderful document, Shape Sioux Falls. Without that recommendation, we could have the RA2 option, which would give a maximum units per acre of 28 units per acre, way above that medium density. Using the live-work designation with this recommendation that the planning department has made could include 96 units for senior housing. So with the multi-use component, you could have 96 units of senior housing and a senior center that could perhaps even create a plan to work with Annie Sullivan's school to mentor kids in that school who have no grandparents. So thinking for the future. The Lacey Homestead or 6th and Bonson project have been compared to the project on 85th and Brett, where the mixed densities did not exactly follow the Shape Sioux Falls. The 85th and Brett project had very clearly defined major cross streets, which we do not have in our 6th and Bonson area. We have 6th and Bonson, and I live there in North Locust, and that has dangerous issues itself. The other difference between that project and our project is that we have our school, Annie Sullivan Elementary. The elementary school is considered a low-density entity, and to put a high-density entity next to the low-density entity really shows the incompatibilities designated in Shape Sioux Falls. The neighbors in Oakview neighborhood really, we look towards the future. We want a mixed array of types of homes, and we really want you all to consider that and keep that proposal in the zoning proposal. Thank you.
Marjorie, thank you as well. Welcome.
Greetings, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Amy Vandervorst, and I live just south of the Lacey Homestead in the Holiday Estates Edition. I'm here to request that the conditions, which were recommended by the City of Sioux Falls Planning Department, be added back to the proposed rezoning of the Lacey Homestead. For 11 years, I walked or drove my kids to Annie Sullivan Elementary School and enjoyed seeing the homestead, the apple trees, the horses, the care that the Browns put into the acreage. And they've been good neighbors. I'm sad that they want to sell, and I know they've been trying to do this for a long time. And I understand that that land is a lot of work. I would love to see that the area become a park or in addition to Kenny Anderson Park. I understand that that may not happen, though. When I walked my kids to school, it was to have a little mom time and kid time and to help them stay safe as they crossed the busy 6th Street intersection. I've seen cars tear through there so fast that they'd never be able to slow down for a kid. I've also seen kids running across that street at the crosswalk there and expose themselves to danger. Annie Sullivan Elementary School used to post 5th grade crossing guards at the 6th Street intersection, but high school kids gave them grief, and so the school felt it was best to stop having crossing guards there. And now there's no one besides parents like me to watch over kids crossing that street. I also see Washington High School students starting across the street from my neighborhood because there isn't a stoplight and crosswalk with a connected sidewalk on the south side of 6th Street close enough to be convenient for them. These are just some of the reasons, in addition to the ones already presented to you, that I personally do not want to see high-density rezoning adding to the traffic on 6th Street. The east side is growing, and in many ways, this is good. But we're also seeing more crime and people living much more densely, much more closely together. Nowhere else in town is the population this dense. So please, place the conditions of the City of Sioux Falls Planning Department that they recommended after much study and many conversations back to this rezoning request. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Folks, did anybody else want to gate? Welcome.
Harley Brindy. I work at Brindy and Metters Law Office at 110 North Phillips Avenue, downtown Sioux Falls. I've been there 40 years. I've known the Browns since the swimming pool days in Del Rapids back in the early 60s. I know them to be fine people, and they asked me if I would help them plead their case to you. And those are my notes, but that's certainly more than 5 minutes. You've all heard about this tonight. You've read about it. You've gotten emails. You watch the internet. You watch television. You watch the planning meetings. You've listened to the city planning department. You probably know as much about this as you will a month from now if you got more sermons, because it's all repeat. Many of you have been out to Kellyanne Lois's 6 acres. And when you got there, you said, oh my. You took a tour and you said, this is much bigger than I thought it was. This is an expansive property. You can fit 6 football fields on Kellyanne Lois's farm ground. The Lacey's and the Browns sold to the apartments. They sold to the twin homes, the single-family homes, the school, the library, the Katie Anderson ball fields, Washington High School. Stand where they were till someday they could retire. And now people say you can retire, but you can't sell it because it's ag. They weren't plotting anything. In April of 2014, they talked to some commercial realtors, and the commercial realtors went to the city planning and said, what do you think about the 6 acres that the Browns have? And city planning said, oh, that's a multifamily. That's what best goes there. So from April in 2014 until April in 2016, still with the ag zoning, Kellyanne Lois and their representatives marketed this property. Along came Lloyd companies, and they said, we can make this work with 144 units because you have to devote so much of the money to the land and so much to the building, et cetera, et cetera. And they spent, my guess is based on other developments in which I've had a hand, $20,000, $30,000 in R&D money, the engineering, the soil testing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the city planning said, good, we're all for it. It went through for apartments only, RA1, RA2, unanimously. And some of the neighbors, and I don't know how many there are, but when you look at the neighborhood association, it doesn't look like much, but it runs from 10th Street and Cleveland over to Chicago, over to Shopko, north to Rice Street. There's thousands of people who live there. One of us went to the neighborhood meeting, and it was announced they had 71 members. Then later, maybe 200 or 300 or whatever it is, out of thousands and thousands of people. I don't think it's representative of the community. I think it's representative of a few neighbors who don't want anything to happen. If you've been following or read regularly or religiously, you'll see that spokespersons for the neighborhood say, we'd like to say it stay the way it is. We'd like to buy it. We'll get together and we'll just buy it and keep it a park. Well, none of that's going to happen. So here we are, Took 2 years to get an offer from Lloyd Companies.
Mr.
And
Brandy,
after-
thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thank you.
You bet. Council, I did allow Mr. Brandy extra time, but you're way past your time, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council on this topic? Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having us here tonight. My name is Joy Schrader, and I live at 908 North Caleb Avenue, which is to the northwest of the property in question. I previously lived on Locust Avenue, pretty much kitty corner from Margie Smotherman. We were in front of you a year ago. We were in front of you at first reading. As we have already mentioned, that the primary concern, and I'm going to narrow it down to one, is it truly comes down to the density. And so that has been discussed multiple times. The information that was presented by Mike Cooper as well as Margie regarding the shape places guidance that the medium density is the 12 units per acre. I would like to respond directly to a few things that Mr. Brandy just indicated. Initially, when the neighborhood started coming together a year ago regarding this property, we were a little bit unrealistic initially that, wow, you know, we just want to keep it as it is. Can't we do something to keep it as it is? And then the more we discussed it, the more we met as a neighborhood, the more we met with the Browns, the more we discussed things with some of you counselors, we realized that, yes, unless there was some wealthy benefactor that came forth, that no, we weren't going to be able to buy the property and turn it into exactly what we wanted to do. But unlike what Mr. Brandy said, we did have a dose of reality, and also, like he said, that we're not opposed to multifamily housing. We are opposed to an excessive number of multifamily housing, and we just can't stress that enough because that is really the crux of our issue here. So we have been working for this entire year trying to come up with a collaborative way to resolve the issue. And so when we learned that the Brown family was coming forth with the live work designation, initially it was very alarming because it looked like they were simply trying to disguise the fact that the RA1 and the RA2 were included in the forms in the zones that could be utilized through live work. And again, that threw up red flags, but in meeting with the planning department that, well, if we put the conditions in place to limit those units or those classifications, that what if there could be synergies that could be developed with senior housing or some mixture of the office / local business opportunities and residential. But again, with the primary concern being that the possibilities of having the full 6 acres zoned as RA2 was unacceptable. And so that was, again, with the recommendation that having those conditions in place would be more acceptable to the neighborhood. The other thing that I would like to comment on is that last year, when the Lloyd companies came forward with a proposal, we still raised all of these issues regarding the density, regarding drainage studies, regarding traffic studies. And so when we're looking at a known developer with an offer on the table and we still had those concerns, now you're asking us to basically back up and go into no man's land, and now we know nothing. So at the time of the Planning Commission last year, we requested that there was an engineering study regarding the water and the runoff, and an engineering study for the traffic counts. Because what are the most traffic counts that could come out of that property if it was completely RA2? And if I remember correctly, and don't quote me on this, but I believe Heath Hoftizer in the engineering department had said it could be upwards of 800 to 900 trips a day coming out of that property, and that was when it was RA1 and RA2. Under live work, the entire thing could be RA2. 900 trips through there. That's very concerning to any neighbor, surrounding the entire Annie Sullivan, Kenny Anderson, Washington complex, anyone who travels through that area, anyone that might have a pedestrian or a student on the street. And so, again, I would implore you that with no site plan in place, that we consider other alternatives. And if that means that nothing goes through tonight, so be it. But I think it should be an opportunity for each of us to truly address the interest of not just the Browns here, not just the neighbors, but the community as a whole. And how can we make this something viable that everybody can be comfortable with and that kids at that school can be safe? Thank you.
Joy, thank you as well. And counselors, I just gave Joy a bit more time as well. Folks, I'm just going to, again, give you a flavor on where we're at, though. Please come forward, ma'am. Where we are getting repetitive, and what I mean by that is we're talking about the same stuff we've been talking about for a long, long time. And again, this council has been involved in this from the very, very beginning. And again, understand the passion, understand, how important this is to you. Here's what we've talked about tonight. Again, for those folks who believe that we should proceed with what has been recommended, they've talked about the density topic, talked about traffic concerns, talked about drainage, talked about how they believe the conditions or the restrictions that have been placed by the planning and zoning team are good. Talked about how there's a lack of understanding of what could potentially happen at that location because there's no site plan in place. There's a belief that a compromise has been made over all this time. And then on the other side, there's been talk about potentially a park could go there. Just allow it some more time. There was a comment made about the neighborhood association, the folks that have gathered over these months. It's not really reflective of the community as a whole. And certainly we've been given more history about what we've already talked about. So folks, I'm just going to caution you, okay? I'm just here to moderate this thing. I don't even get a vote tonight, which kind of upsets me. But I don't get a vote tonight, but I am the moderator. And I do get to decide when it's time to stop this dialogue and then let the council do their work. So I'm just going to caution you folks, no more repetitive comments. If you got something new, bring it forward, and then let's continue this good dialogue. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to pull these down a little bit. My name is Molly Brown. I'm Kelly and Lois Brown's daughter, and I'm here today to speak on their behalf and to express my concerns regarding their emotional roller coaster that they've been on, resulting from this ongoing property issue. For those that don't know, my parents are really pillars of this community. My father is a combat veteran who served this country in Vietnam, a Shriner, and a postman. My mother is a teacher, a caregiver, and if you've seen the place, she possesses an amazing green thumb. And over the past 34 years, they have shared their home with not only their 4 children, but over 17 exchange students from all over the world. They have offered their home to half a dozen friends of my brothers and myself who are in need of a place to stay. Their home hosted my grandmother for almost a decade and currently houses my Uncle Larry. My parents are incredibly caring and compassionate people. They have given everything to this neighborhood and this community. In a very real way, they are this neighborhood, and they have earned the right to move on with their lives. And right now, they can't. The uncertainty surrounding this issue prevents them from being able to make any sort of plan for the rest of their lives. On top of rezoning issues, my parents have also had their property taxes increased by 94% over the past couple years. And I would also like to note that in August 2016, Heath Hofstetter, the principal traffic engineer for the City of Sioux Falls, was quoted saying he was confident the city could work with the developer to ensure safety upon the development of the 6 acres. So I stand here today asking for my parents to be granted the rezoning of their property without these unjust and arbitrary conditions. Kelly and Lois Brown have given a great deal to their community, and I only ask that they be given the same consideration that they've always extended to their neighbors. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Molly. Appreciate it. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council on this topic? Welcome.
I'm Lois Brown. Thank you so much, Mayor Huther, and all of the City Council, also to the community members and our neighbors who are here today for your interest in our city affairs. Thanks to all of you who responded to our email message where we laid out the facts and told our point of view of the last 2 years to rezone. We appreciate those of you who found time in your busy lives to come and walk the property in order to see it and try to make a proper rezone choice for this unique 6-acre parcel. Just this last Saturday, I surveyed our neighbors across the road to the north on Bonson. Those who were home told me whatever we want to do with our property, they had no objections. Years ago, my grandmother, Christina K. Lacey, related to me she had sat on her front porch and watched the building of St. Lambert's Church a mile away, up in Hilltop. To the south, I now see trees and one home's back deck across 6th Street. That's my view. Our cherished view of the cathedral spires of St. Joseph is now cut off by a rental duplex across the street to the west. Our city keeps changing and will continue to do so. Growth is inevitable. It is not going to stop. Please, let us just get over this and move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Appreciate it. Folks, again, I thank you very much for your comments tonight. I know the council appreciates it as well. However, now I am going to go to the council, and I'm going to let them do their work on behalf of all of you. So, councilors, any comments, questions? Yes, Councilor Neitzert.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second, Urbanbach.
It's been a motion to approve this particular item, the second reading. It has been by Councilor Neitzert, seconded by Councilor Urbanbach. Councilor Neitzert.
Make a motion to amend item 35 by inserting after the words LW Live Work District the following condition: except MD2 form uses are prohibited.
Second, Erickson.
There's been a motion to amend item 35 by inserting after the words LW Live Work District the following condition: except MD-2 form uses are prohibited. That was made by Councilor Neitzert, second by Councilor Vice Chair Erickson. Councilor Neitzert, sir.
What this does is prohibits the MD2 form, which is a 48-unit, 3-story apartment building. This would allow only the MD1 form for apartments, which are 2-story, 24-unit buildings. The purpose of this is to restrict the number of units, density, and to keep the height down. It does allow more than the originally proposed 72 units, which is financially unworkable in my mind, but it is less than the live work with no conditions. This is a compromise I believe can work.
Continue, sir.
And I'm going to make another motion to amend item 35.
Councilor Neitzert.
Oh, I'm sorry, we got to get a vote on that.
Good job.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Let's focus on the first amendment that was made by Councilor Neitzert. Folks, any additional comments on that? Councilor Starr.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Welcome.
I think Councilor Neitzert makes a great point. I think this amendment is an interesting compromise to what we're doing. At the same time, I think it points out that we're kind of at a point tonight again where we're working without a plan, where we're trying to make adjustments on the fly. And I think that we would be best served by sending this back to the Planning Commission before we make amendments and try to come up with things. I think that's their job to work some of these things out and to work with staff. And to go ahead tonight with a plan of we're trying to add something, not add something that really affects the neighborhood and the Browns as well. And I would move at this point to remand to the Planning Commission. It's a motion to amend.
Is that a substitute, Councilor?
A substitute motion.
There's been a substitute to remand this back to the Planning Commission. That fails for lack of a second. Councilor Starr, thank you. Councilor Vice Chair Erickson.
Thank you. I would respectfully disagree and argue that Councilor Neitzer has invested more time in this than probably most people work in a daily week. Or daily week, that didn't make sense, but you know what I mean, in a week. He really has, in my opinion, as we've had conversations, we've exchanged emails, I know he has with many of us, and had a lot of telephone calls in regards to his research of what he's done. For me, I can support this amendment. I understand that this will be delayed 1 week to give time. I'm assuming that's still going to happen. And once that motion is made, then we will have that last week to make that decision, move forward. If all the details were known of the time and energy that Councilor Neitzer has put into this, I would argue that this has been well thought out, well researched, and this is the right move. So I would hope that we can all support this. Then essentially after we make this amendment, we'll make a motion to delay it 1 week and have the conversation yet again next week.
A roll call vote, please, on the amendment.
Councilmembers Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Starr,
No.
Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Council, that amendment is passed 6-1. Councilor Neisert.
I'm going to make another motion to amend item 35. After the words "except MD2 form uses are prohibited," then insert a semicolon and then add the following condition. Traffic impact. Prior to issuance of a building permit, a traffic and pedestrian plan will be required for approval by the City Engineering Department. The city will also work with the developer of this property to obtain the necessary public right-of-way for a future improvement of the 6th Street and Bonson Avenue intersection.
Second, Erickson.
There's been a motion to amend item 35. After the words "except MD-2 form uses are prohibited," then insert a semicolon and then add the following condition. It involves traffic impact, folks. Prior to issuance of a building permit, a traffic and pedestrian plan will be required for approval by the City Engineering Department, period. The city will also work with the developer of this property to obtain the necessary public right-of-way for a future improvement of the 6th Street and Bonson Avenue intersection. Councilor Neisert.
Thank you. And I'll just explain this. This amendment does two things. Number one, it requires a traffic management and pedestrian plan be approved with any development. This is required for any development, but this reiterates that traffic calming measures to make the ingress and egress safe given the proximity of the school is addressed. And number two, it requires that any developer work with the city to provide the necessary right-of-way for a possible future realignment of Bonson Avenue or addition of turn lanes or anything else that the traffic engineering would deem as necessary as the traffic grows in the future, with the possible extension of Bonson going north and 6th Street going east. Any improvements would happen as they are needed at the judgment of the traffic engineers and as budget allows. And I encourage you to support this amendment.
Councilor Starr.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome.
I guess probably two questions. One, I guess I'd like to hear from planning staff if these are both acceptable to what planning sees for the area. And probably second of all, maybe the applicant more than anyone, if these are acceptable amendments to the Browns as part of this process, so, or their representative.
Yeah, Mike, I'm going to let you speak to that item. I don't know if it's appropriate or not, Mike, for anybody else to speak, but Mike, go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, in terms of the First Amendment, well, in terms of the amendment that you're voting on now, yes, we are in support of the traffic impact. We feel it's important to at least have that ability to continue to address not only what the issue is today, but also long-term. So we support this amendment with the traffic impact requirement.
Thank you, Mike. Any other comments? Councilor Buck?
I think Councilor Starr asked if the applicant had a
And
comment
I'm
about it,
gonna-
and I believe if we could ask the gentleman to come forward and answer that question, that would be.
Councilor Buck, just one second. David?
We get to ask.
Councilor Starr, David, City Attorney David Fifley said we've got two options here. I can either defer to you to say, would you want someone speak on this topic, or we could allow this to go to a proposed second reading, which will be Tuesday, August 8th. I'll tell you what, I'm going to defer to you, sir. There's going to be a lot more discussion on this, but I'll defer to you. Councilor Starr, go ahead and pick one, sir.
I appreciate that, Mayor. I think
You're
we're going to
welcome.
have a week to talk about some of these things, so I'm going to pull back my question for the Browns and the applicant in this process and work through this as part of the second reading if we're going to defer this after we vote on this amendment. So I'll back up.
Good job. We're growing, aren't we?
It's getting there.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Any other discussion on the amendment as proposed? Very good. Really appreciate this, counselors. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Councilor Nitzert.
I'm going to make a motion to set a date of hearing and second reading on item 35 as amended on Tuesday, August 8th, 2017.
Second Erickson.
There's been a motion to set a date of hearing and second reading on item 35 as amended on Tuesday, August 8th, 2017, made by Councilor Nitzert, seconded by Councilor Vice Chair Erickson. Any comments? Councilor Nitzert?
State law requires that if a substantial change is made to a zoning ordinance, it must be publicly noticed and there must be time for the public to consider it. Because of that, we must defer this for 1 week to comply with state law before we can take a final vote. And I want to let you know that public input will again be allowed at that meeting, and hopefully at that meeting we'll make a final decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Nitzert. Great homework. David, any comments? Council? A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Thank you. Item 36.
Item 36 is a second reading. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota rezoning property located at 4000 South Ellis Road from the AG Agricultural District to the RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban District, petition number 6687, 2017, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Jason Bieber representing Planning and Building Services. This is an application and the owner is Greg Schipper. It is located at the northeast corner of West 48th Street and South Ellis Road. It's roughly 1.6 acres in size. And the purpose of this specific application is the applicant is looking to construct either 2 single-family homes that would face West 48th Street or 1 twin home that would face West 48th Street.
Folks, again, a second reading. Did anybody want to engage the council on this topic? Welcome.
Marlon Teason, Prairie Meadows, I'm treasurer. I like to keep it a single dwelling because that's the way we've always had it out there. If we get into multi-dwellings, I guess one of our concerns is that we always bill whoever's on the deed, because that's the only person we can put, if they're delinquent, we can only put it on their taxes then. We can't bill really the residents. And so if we get into the multi-dwellings, then a lot of times they go to, it'll be a rental property, so a lot of times they go to management, or somebody else manages the property, a third party, and so we feel we'll have conflicts. But the big concern I have is we got 73 homes out there now, and I'm concerned about the sewer, and I don't know why we issue building permits when we got such a sewer problem. In April, for 73 homes, actually, we should be putting down 300 to 400,000 gallons at the flow meter. In April, we had 2.7 million, and our debt was, we owed the city $13,000 to treat that. In May, it was 2.3 million with $11,000 we owed. In June, it was 3 million. That's almost 800 to 1,000 homes. If you average about 3,000 homes to what they put down for sewage, that's unbelievable. And the city billed us for about $15,000. In July, it was a little bit drier, so it was down to 1.7, and the city built it at 8,000 gallons. And if you want to verify these figures, you can call Mark Perry at Water Rec. But I don't think we should be adding any more homes or building out there, whether it's single or whatever, until we get the sewer problem fixed. Because it's inevitable if we don't get it fixed pretty soon, it's just going to be a disaster. Somebody's going to it's going to collapse, and it's going to back up in somebody's homes, because these numbers, if you look over the years, it just keeps going up and up, so we're getting more breakage. We have no money to fix it. We were thinking about a while back here raising the rates to $2.35 to keep current. Well, you know how that went. We got in the Argus later, and everybody protested, and so we just backed off, and we're still at $100 a month. But I don't know. I don't think we should allow any building out there. We should put a ban on freezing or freeze it or ban all building. Because back in '76 when we started, we had a ban out there for 7 years. We couldn't build or nothing until the city come along and put in the sewer system. And now I think, I don't know. I think we should vote no on this ordinance until we get the sewer problem fixed.
Mr. Deason, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Huh?
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council on this topic? Very good, councilors.
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Selberg.
It's been a motion to approve this item by Councilor Rolfing, second by Councilor Selberg. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Starr.
No.
Staley.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
That is passed 7-1. Item 37, sorry.
Item 37 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located south of East Madison Street and east of North 6 Mile Road from the AG Agricultural District to the RS Single Family Residential Suburban District, petition number 6728, 2017, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 6-0.
The applicant and owner here is Steve Van Buskirk with Van Buskirk's Company. It is located south of East Madison Street and east of North 6 Mile Road. It's roughly 1.6 acres in size, currently zoned agricultural. The purpose of this rezoning is the applicant is looking at constructing a single-family residential development, the Willow Ridge 3rd Edition, with roughly 300 lots for single-family residential homes.
Folks, a second reading. Did anybody want to engage the council on this topic? Welcome.
James Feldman, live on East Madison, a little bit farther east than this. I don't know much, haven't been following this. We just saw the signs because we passed right by there. And my concern after watching the map and everything else is access to Madison, if that's not within city limits, or if it is, and what potential traffic issues you're going to be adding to 6 Mile Madison and everything in that area. It's getting kind of tough right now with the construction that's going out there. And I just want you to think about that as I see that I don't know what part has been annexed in for Madison and the other surrounding roads right there. As I was looking at it on the map just a second ago, I was just realizing that it looked like everything south of that is in the city and not north of it or even just west of it on 6 Mile. So just wanted to bring that to your attention as I looked at it. Thanks.
James, thank you as well. Appreciate it. Councilor Vice Chair Erickson.
I just have a quick question for staff, if you could address his concerns. And my second question is the access points. I know that's been the subdivision access points as far as fire, and then on top of that, just public access routes out of there, because that's a whole lot of houses.
Typically when we annex in property, significantly with this one, we do annex in the right-of-way, so Madison Street right-of-way was included as part of this annexation, so that would be included within city limits. The access plan, as you'll see later on this agenda, we do have the preliminary subdivision plan for this specific one. So those access issues have been vetted all the way through engineering department. Their quarter-mile access will be the one that's shown on this specific development page here. Phase 1 that they're looking at doing is more of the property to the south. So they will have 2 ways out to the south, and then as they start constructing going forward more farther north, then they will construct that access that goes to Madison Street.
Thank you. I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Councilor. Is there a second?
Second, Selberg.
Second by Councilor Selberg. Thank you. Any other discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing. Selberg.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Thank you, Councilor. Item 38.
Item 38 is the second reading and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located at 1320 South Minnesota Avenue from the RT1 Single Family Residential Traditional District to the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar District, petition number 6747-2017, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 6-0.
The applicant and owner here is Dan Brentro. It is located at 1320 South Minnesota Avenue, just east of Minnesota Avenue. It's roughly 0.5 acres in size. As you can see on the current aerial here, it's pretty much about 3/4 of it is already an existing parking lot. The applicant is proposing to rezone this to commercial so they can utilize this existing parking lot for the office property that's directly to the west.
Jason, thank you. Folks, second reading. Did anybody want to engage the council? Councilors.
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second.
Councilor Bucks made that motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Starr. Is there any discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 39.
Item 39 is the second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located at 1806 East Mulberry Street from the RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban District to the RT1 Single Family Residential Traditional District, petition number 6832-2017, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 6-0.
The applicant and owner here is Nancy Nelson Kramer. It's located at 1806 East Mulberry Street. The property currently contains a single-family house. Size of this lot is relatively small at 2,200 square feet. The purpose of this rezoning is the applicant is looking to get her lot. It's less than the 5,000 square foot required by the RD1 zoning district. She is looking at utilizing what we call the DD3 form, detached dwelling traditional, to bring her lot into compliance. And then she's also looking at constructing a small shed in the northeast corner of the property.
Jason, thank you, folks. Second reading. Anybody want to engage the council? Councilors?
Move
to approve, Erickson.
Second, Erpenbach.
Council Vice Chair Erickson has made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. Thank you both. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 40.
Item 40 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located at 4900 South Cottonwood Place from the RA1 Apartment Residential Low Density District to the O Office District, petition number 6891-2017, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 6-0.
Staff did receive a communication from the applicant of this rezoning this afternoon, and they are requesting to withdraw this application.
I'll make a motion to withdraw item number 40.
Second.
Been a motion to withdraw this item. It has been seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 41.
Item 41 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located at 3201 South Theodore Avenue from the O Office District to the RA1 Apartment Residential Low Density District, petition number 6906, 2017, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
The applicant here is Tom Reeves with Volunteers of America. The owner is D&E Properties. It's located at 3201, South Theodore Avenue, just north of the Ace hardware store. It's roughly 1.88 acres in size, and the purpose of this specific rezoning is Volunteers of America are looking at constructing a 2-story, 21-unit apartment complex with the associated parking lot. They will be required that level A buffer yard along the north property line, which would be a 10-foot setback, 2-foot berm or 4-foot fence, and that 20 units of landscaping. You can see here with their concept plan, they are indicating those existing coniferous trees that have been on the north side of this property adjacent to the neighborhood for several years.
Thank you, Jason. Folks, anybody want to engage the council on this topic? Welcome.
Good evening. John Hart, Volunteers of America, Dakota, Sioux Falls. I just wanted to expand a little bit on the planning department's comments. We actually submitted 2 different site plans for this location, had our architect look at it 2 different ways. Both of them do really retain a lot of the flavor and the elements of that site. As they were indicating, it's going to be a small apartment complex, 2 stories, 21 units, 19 one-bedroom and 2 two-bedroom units, so definitely low density. We spent a lot of time in site selection for this apartment complex and really arrived at this particular location for a couple of main reasons. The size, it's a 1.8 acre site. So it fits very well with a low-density development like that. More importantly is the specific location of it. In an established neighborhood, public transportation, which is really hard to find for multifamily in Sioux Falls, and also the retail element of that. We have retail right along 41st Street, also adjacent to high school, and to parks. It just is a really good fit for a very small multifamily development. And we want to be part of a neighborhood. That's important too. We tried to really establish or reiterate that to those folks that live in the neighborhood by hosting not 1 but 3 neighborhood meetings as well. Sent out over 100 letters to people introducing ourselves, introducing the plan and the concept, and to invite people to join with us in inviting us into the neighborhood. So in our opinion, this is the perfect place and a great use for the property. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it as well. Folks, anybody else? Very good. Council?
Move approval, Star.
Councilor Starr has made that motion, seconded by Councilor Chair Kiley. Any other comments, Council? Yes, Councilor
I would like to comment. First of all, I'd like to thank the Volunteers of America, their board's applicant, Tom Reeves, for bringing this forward, because I do believe this is a very worthy product for this community. It assists some of the most vulnerable individuals in our community who are vulnerable through no fault of their own. And it is a perfect location. It serves as a great buffer between the businesses on busy 41st Street. It is close to the schools. It's close to businesses where these individuals could potentially work. This is a true live-work situation for these individuals, and I think it's a great project, and I urge my fellow councilors to vote in favor of this.
A roll call vote, please.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kiley.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Thank you, Council. Item 42.
Item 42 is the second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located north of West 57th Street and west of I-229 from the LW Live Work District to the O Office and C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar Districts, petition number 6912, 2017, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval, 6-0.
The applicant and owner here is Joel Dykstra. It is located at 2600 West 57th Street, just west of I-229. It's roughly 11.5 acres in size, and the purpose of this rezoning is I believe the applicant originally envisioned it to be commercial, office, and multifamily development, and as they've kind of moved along, they've gone away from the multifamily aspect of it, so now they are looking at zoning it commercial and office. And if you've been out there, they've moved significant amount of dirt, and their phase one is to construct 2 retail buildings on the west side of the property.
Jason, thank you. Folks, second reading. Anybody want to engage the council? Very good. Councilors?
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second.
Councilor Rolfing's made that motion, seconded by Councilor Chair Kiley. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Erickson, Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kiley.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 43.
Item 43 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located at 5509 North Quarry Avenue from the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar District to the I-1 Light Industrial District, petition number 6937, 2017, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval, 6-0.
The applicant here is Dave Hasvold. The owner is Granite Valley LLC. It's located at 5509 North Quarry Avenue. This is just east of North Cliff and just north of I-90. It's roughly 1.35 acres in size, and the purpose of this rezoning is they are looking at constructing a contractor shop for a heating and cooling business on this site.
Jason, thank you. Folks, anybody want to engage the council? Councilors?
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Rolfing's made a motion to approve this item, sent by Councilor Erpenbach. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Erickson, Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kiley.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 44.
Item 44 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located at 3810 North Career Avenue from the O Office and RA2 Apartment Residential Moderate Density Districts to the LW Live Work District, petition number 6938, 2017, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval, 6-0.
The applicant and owner here is Lloyd Companies. It's located at the southeast corner of North Career Avenue and West Cayman Street. It's roughly 2.31 acres in size. And the purpose of this rezoning is they are looking at constructing between a 3- and 4-story building. The main floor would be dedicated solely to a daycare, and then floors 2 through 4 would be all multifamily residential apartments.
Jason, thank you. Did anybody want to engage the council? Councilors? Councilor Nitzert.
I think we all think this is really just an awesome concept. I just wanted to say that, and I'm going to move approval.
There's been a motion to approve this item by Councilor Nitzert, seconded by Councilor Vice Chair Erickson. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Selberg, Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kiley.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 45.
Item 45 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located at 2601 East 8th Street from the RA2 Apartment Residential Moderate Density District to the LW Live Work District, petition number 6963, 2017, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval, 6-0.
The applicant and owner here is also Lloyd Companies. This is a similar request to the one we just heard, except for this one's on the east side of town. It's located just east of 229 and north of 10th Street. It's roughly 1.26 acres in size, and they are looking at doing the exact same thing, a daycare / office rooms on the bottom level, and then the multifamily residential on the 2 to 3 floors above.
Jason, thank you. Did anybody want to engage the council on this topic? Councilors?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Box made that motion, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 46.
Item 46 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, approving gratuitous transfer of real property.
Michael?
Mike Cooper, Planning and Building Services. Mark Cotter, Public Works Director. As you remember from first reading, we're talking about the Ice and Rec Center property, which is just under 2.5 acres in size on West 51st Street. Through two different resolutions, the City Council has declared all this property surplus. And now we've been working with Glory House on two different items tonight. One will be a conveyance through a gift, and one will be a conveyance through a sale. We put together covenants with Glory House's approval of the terms and conditions of these agreements. This shows you the three parts of this site that will be gifted to Glory House, just under 1 acre, sold to Glory House just over 2/10 of an acre, and the remaining 1.2 acres, the city will retain to continue to look at another buyer of the site. It's important to recognize that the purpose of doing this is so that Glory House can expand their facility, and they've put together a site development plan that shows the phasing of this property. It's important to also know that there's going to be certain triggers that would begin the actual conveyance of the property. And again, we put those together with city staff as well as with Glory House's approval. And then the valuation, the estimated value of the gift based on the appraisal is just over $265,000. The land that we would be selling for $50,000 is based on 90% of the appraisal. The estimated value of phase one is between 1.7 and 2 million, and then their ultimate build-out would be between 7 and 10 million. There are representatives here tonight for Glory House and Lloyd Companies because I know there were some questions at first reading about more specific to the phasing and the financing. So that's what we're recommending approval of this item and the one following tonight.
Mike, thank you very much. Folks, did anybody want to engage the council on this topic? Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, councilors.
Welcome.
Thank you for allowing us to have a moment to talk to you just in support of this resolution. We are in the process of working.
Sir, I apologize. Your name, please.
I'm sorry. Dave Johnson, President of the Glory House.
Thanks, Dave.
Sorry. Just to say thank you, first of all, for the consideration and the hard work that has gone into making this all come together. Not only has City Council done that, Mr. Mayor, you have as well, and also Mike Cooper and Mike Cotter. Thank you for what you have done to do this. With me, I have representation from our Board of Directors who are more than happy to be here to answer questions, to do anything that we need to do to help move this forward. We think it's a great investment in the city and folks that really need a place to be as they move back into the community and become taxpayers versus tax givers. Thank you very much, and I'll be here to answer questions.
Dave, there were questions that were asked at the last meeting. We might as well have you answer those right now.
Sure.
One involved potential timing, and then the other one involved fundraising. Could you just give an update to the council and the people of Sioux Falls on that?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And also Jake Kwasny is here with Lloyd's Companies. They are partners in some of this, and he is going to also address some of that.
Thank you.
Jake, do you want to address some of that right now? Sure. I think that will answer your questions probably a little quicker than I will.
Appreciate it. Thank you, David. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Jake Kwasny with Lloyd Companies. So to address that specific issue, we've got 30 days from today to turn in an application to South Dakota Housing, which will start the trigger for all of those the timelines and hopefully get an award in November, breaking ground April or May of next year on that first phase, with plans to just keep that rolling, making applications next summer for future phases Depending on the success with lease up, it could be 24 units, it could be larger. That all depends on a whole lot of factors that play into that. But our role in this, Lloyd Companies, in addition to building it, is really to work with them. They've got a team working on the fundraising side of it to raise some capital, but our job is then to leverage that using various programs through South Dakota Housing, Federal Home Loan Bank, funds that the city offers up from time to time, to leverage that together to put together a financing package that can take those dollars and the gift that you guys have put together. Special thanks to Pat Starr for getting the ball rolling here, and then the team as we were able to work through it and come up with a really awesome solution. But you know, that $7 to $10 million that's going to get invested in this over the next, you know, probably 5 years, that's really a target for us. Will not just be raised. We're not passing the hat for that. We're going to take the gifts that we are able to create, and we're going to leverage that using programs to deliver this. So.
Jake, thank you. Folks, before I go to the council, did anybody else want to engage them on this topic? Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Welcome.
Council, I'll be really brief. My name is Bill Townsend. I have worked in a consultative role with the Glory House and Mr. Dave Johnson and his team, and I've seen the growth of, contrary to a presentation you had earlier tonight, of meth use in the state of South Dakota. And the Glory House does a wonderful job of relieving our prison system, getting these people finding jobs. I couldn't think of a better way to work with this group and the use of that property. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. Council, I'm going to turn it over to you. Councilor Starr, I'm going to go to you first.
Yes, I would move to approve.
Thank you, Councilor Starr.
Second, Rolfing.
Seconded by Councilor, motion approved by Councilor Starr, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Discussion, Councilor Urbanbach.
Just a question, either Mr. Cooper or Mr. Bieber, are we going to have to rezone this at some point?
We currently have this scheduled for tomorrow night's planning commission.
Okay.
To start the rezoning process.
Great, thank you.
Any other discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
That has unanimously been approved, 8-0. And I will let the Glory House folks know, as well as Councilor Starr. I'm signing the item right now. Item 47.
Item 47 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, approving an offer to purchase real property from the City of Sioux Falls.
Mike?
This is the second part, which would be going back to that middle portion, which is the $50,000 tract.
Thank you, Mike. Folks, an opportunity to engage the council. Any comments? Councilors? Councilor Starr?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I would move to approve.
Second, Nitzert.
There's been a motion to approve this item by Councilor Starr, seconded by Councilor Nitzert. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Starr.
Thank you. I just wanted to take a minute primarily to the gratitude of moving this forward, and also Commissioner Schmidt, now that he's left the building, I can say that I was glad he didn't come to the podium to tell us how great a project this is. We just know that. But I think this is an exciting proposition for the Glory House to move forward. And more than anything, I think, Mayor, you challenged us in your State of the City address to, if we had a solution to the meth problem, come forward and move something forward. And I think this is one of those solutions that we're having a chance tonight to really finish up a process with the rezoning coming next month. But I think the Glory House is going to do some great things with this piece of property and make us proud as a city, and get a chance to help some people who are really trying to turn their lives around. They've done some really great things. This continues it, and I think the one thing that I really like the term, I think Dave came up with, Mr. Johnson came up with it, this really turns into a three-quarter house, where people are continue to get the services that they need, whether it's chemical dependency, behavior therapy, mental health. All the services are still people are able to turn their lives around, reunite with their families. I mean, there's just a lot of great things that are going to happen as part of this process. So thank you to everybody who's been involved, and especially thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it.
Welcome. Very good. Thank you, Councilor Starr. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
That has been unanimously approved, 8-0. And to the Glory House and to Councilor Starr, I'm signing it right now. Item 48.
Item 48 is to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 8th, 2017 at 7 p.m. A first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Chapter 95, Parks and Recreation, requiring park board composition based on city council districts.
Councilor Staley.
Hello. Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, let me say that these past weeks, I've been able to meet with every council member and to take their input on this ordinance. And I know in that conversation, people were very concerned that this not be any kind of a commentary, a negative commentary on the park board and the job that they have been doing. And so I want that clear for the public to understand. This is about moving forward for our community. It's about representation for the future. This ordinance accomplishes the following. A member will be from each of the 5 city council districts, and 2 members will be at large. And this mirrors the same constitution that we are currently using for our city council. A member must reside in their respective districts during their term of office. If they move outside the district, they must resign their seat. And again, this parallels what we're doing on the city council. A member can complete the remainder of their term if a district boundary changes removes them from their district. However, they will be unable to represent this district for a second term. Again, this is similar to the city council structure. This ordinance allows each of the current first-term Parks Board members an opportunity to serve a second term. And these are 5-year terms, so they have the potential of serving 10 years total. And the ordinance will become effective August 1st, 2024. This ordinance was reviewed by the City Attorney's Office, and as I mentioned at the beginning, I did meet with every one of our council members and also Director Don Kearney, and I presented this to the Parks Board as well. I wanted to read a letter, and I know at the beginning that we had input from the Park Board members, and by the way, they used my name. It kind of like became Councilor Staley's ordinance here. But I was able to reach out to Anita Tabb, who is the president of the Minnesota Park and Recreation Board, and I wanted to read this. Dear Teresa, thank you for reaching out to inquire about the representative structure of the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. We have 9 elected officials who represent the city, with 3 of those elected at large and 6 elected to represent districts within the city. As the president of this board, I believe that this representative makeup of our board allows us to advocate equally and fully for all areas of our diverse city. When covering a specific geographic area, the ability to focus on that area provides the elected official an opportunity to know in depth the issues that are unique to that region of the city. When you live in a community and have a vested interest in the outcome of the overall results, you tend to advocate more strongly for it. That increased advocacy is not a matter of excluding others, but the fact is that it is just easier to advocate for something when it is more familiar. Parks are a very democratic and equalizing part of our public commonwealth. Remembering back to the Commons in Boston, parks should be places for everyone. They can provide a place for children to play or residents to recreate without regard to socioeconomic status, race, color, creed, or any other factor. And to ensure that parks are for everyone, it is essential to hear the voices of all areas. This is the essential reason to have a representative government for our park needs. As a board, we keep our eye on the big picture by including the voices of our 3 at-large commissioners, whose focus is on the city as a whole. Rather than concentrating on projects that would affect a neighborhood only, such as a local playground, they would tend to be more involved in projects that affect the entire city, such as the park project along the Mississippi River that are enjoyed by the entire city, or a citywide fully accessible playground. And then I thought this last part was very interesting, and actually it's been talked about a little bit within Sioux Falls. She says, as an aside, our school board recently moved from a fully elected at-large board to a board with a mix of district and at-large representation to ensure that the varied city interests are equally represented. And then she said that she was happy for the interest. So I'd like to make a motion to set the date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 8th, 2017.
Second, Neitzer.
There's been a motion to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 8th for this particular item. It has been seconded. Any other discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Neitzer,
Yes.
Rolfing,
No.
Selberg,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
That has passed 7-1. Item 49.
Item 49 is a first reading to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 8th, 2017 at 7 p.m. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Chapter 150, Building Rental Housing.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Erpenbach.
Thank you. Matt Tobias is going to help me with this presentation as well, but I was just going to give just a brief introduction very quickly. In addition to a couple of housekeeping items, this amendment makes only a minor change to existing ordinance, and truly it affects a very small number of landlords in Sioux Falls. The main issue I've heard from landlords and the South Dakota Multi-Housing Association is that the city should enforce what they have now, and that's exactly what this change will facilitate. Currently, with many, and not all, landlords who live outside Sioux Falls, there can be an attitude of indifference to the condition of their property. They simply don't care because they don't live here. It's sort of out of sight, out of mind. Remember, my original reason for taking on this project was to protect 3 entities. First of all, the neighbors. This is where the idea came from in the first place. I've always said this isn't my own little idea. This came from citizens of this community who believe everyone has the right to live next door to property where the owner or a contact person is identified and accessible. Second is the tenants. Everyone has the right to live in safe and decent housing, and if there is an issue with a rental unit, a tenant should be able to identify the owner or a contact person who can help them. And third, landlords. Everyone has the right to be notified if their tenants aren't keeping their end of the bargain. City staff members, including council staff, have been in conversation with me back and forth for months on this. The version of the ordinance that is on tonight's agenda is the one that came out of committee. We're drafting an amendment for second reading in an effort to keep things simple tonight. I've just let you know that the amendment being proposed would change those words, responsible party, to contact persons. I know most of my colleagues are comfortable with that wording, and I appreciate your support, but I want to have time between first and second reading to iron out and continue to discuss the exact wording. I've been meeting with various folks about it. So Matt from Code Enforcement was going to talk about this from the other side of the conversation. So thanks, Matt.
Matt, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Matt Tobias, Code Enforcement Manager. This has been extremely vetted. We've been working on this for quite some time. But the same question comes up as far as why we need rental registration, why it's important for us. One of the big things, and I know I've said this many, many times to you guys as a group too, is that it's a contact information for us. I mean, that's big. It allows us to make one-to-one contact with the property owner when they walk away from the property or they're not maintaining the property. Sometimes it's really hard to contact those individuals, but this is a one-to-one. We do. There may be very rare cases, and I'll speak from a code enforcement / property maintenance perspective here for a second. But I know someone said tonight that those letters might be sent out to a tenant. we strive to all of our contact goes to the owner. I know there may be times here and there, but I'll say that we strive really hard, and that's big for us because we want to be able to contact those individuals, whether or not it be for a complaint that we had on the property, or we use this information. We are always striving to how we can use data. You've kind of heard lately we've been talking about this What Works City initiative. This is a big part of it. It's taking our data that we have, making better decisions with that data. Community development, they have revolving loan programs that we're going to start targeting to neighborhoods that have rental units, right? So we go back to the rental registration database, and then right now we're working with the neighborhood to do a special cleanup, and maybe they're looking at maybe gearing towards the landlords in that neighborhood to do a cleanup. So it's very, very important. We use this information. It's a contact for us. It's like I said before, I look at it as almost an insurance policy. We make those phone calls. We use the rental registration database. We make the phone calls when we get complaints on the property. So overall, it's a very good thing. Going forward, I know one thing that we have heard from some folks in the South Dakota Multi-Housing Association is that the ordinance has been kind of on the docket for the last 13, 14, 15 years, and it's never really been enforced. Well, one thing we're going to do as we get this thing going, my staff's fully aware that we're going to start enforcing this ordinance. And that may result, I'm not sure how we're going to, it may result in fines coming down the future if your property's not registered with the city. So we're fully ready to do that. Right now, currently, we have over 7,000 properties registered with the city. Now, I'll say properties, and I could quadruple that number by saying units, but I'm saying properties, 7,000 properties. So that could be one property with an address that may have they could have 48 units with one address. So we're getting there. Our goal is to have all properties registered, but it's been a good time to talk about the ordinance, and I think that we're at a really good spot where we're at now, but it's very crucial to what we do within the city, especially when it relates to code enforcement. That's all I have.
Thank you, Matt.
You bet.
Councilor Ervenbach, go back to you.
I would just encourage that we move it to second reading, so I would make that motion to set the date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 8th, 2017 at 7 p.m.
Thank you. Councilor Ervenbach's made that motion, seconded by Councilor Staley. Councilor Erickson.
Thank you. I just have a question, and I apologize for doing this spur of the moment. I don't want to put you on the spot, but think about this potential thing. As we've seen sales tax soften and really every little bit counts, and we want to enforce what's on the books. And so recently when we talked about the TNC ordinance, we required anyone coming and applying for that application that they had to have a sales tax license. And so I would throw it out there, and it's up for debate, but if there's a pulse for the short-term rental to require the sales tax license, because anything under 28 days, you need to charge sales tax. And that rate here in Sioux Falls is 10%. That's a substantial amount of money as we see the drive for platforms with Airbnb, you name it, VRBO. I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but those are the platforms in which a lot of short-term renters are using. And it makes it unfair for the hotels, unfortunately, if there are people that are not playing by the rules. And so I throw it out there as, is this something that we should add to our ordinance? Maybe not, but I know that the Department of Revenue is certainly looking at this and trying to enforce this more and more on those platforms. So just an idea, food for thought, not making any suggestions, but like I said, anything under 28 days, it's required to be charged tax.
Before I go to Councilor Bach, any other comments? Councilor Bach?
I would not disagree with Councilor Erickson. It is something that is definitely an issue. But it is one of those things that I would consider it a friendly amendment if we ended up doing that, but it is already demanded by state law. It's required by state law. And I would say it out loud, if you run an Airbnb or a VRBO or whatever short-term rental, if you don't have your state sales tax, you're violating state law right now. And so to me that, I'm not sure we have to repeat that in city ordinance, but it's certainly up for conversation.
And I would, if I could I would absolutely agree with that. I know the challenge for Department of Revenue is if we could share that information back and forth. The challenge is with Airbnb and VRBO, you're not allowed to share phone numbers. And so if I'm listing my property and Matt wants to contact me, it doesn't allow him to say, hey, call me, blah, blah, blah. It blocks certain information because they don't want you to book offline. And so there's certainly hurdles with it. It might not need to be there, but it certainly is something that you could even just keep an eye on as you're, collecting the data and making sure, hey, if you are checking the box that you're short term, then make sure you have that sales tax license just to make it a fair playing field for everyone. So,
A roll call vote, please.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing, Selberg,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Erickson,
yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 50.
Item 50 is to set a data hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 15th, 2017 at 7 p.m. First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Chapter 111, alcoholic beverages, to provide for an off-sale delivery classification and fee.
David?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a reflection of a new state law for a new license for off-sale that went into effect on July 1. Our city charter requires that any fees be established by ordinance. The state statutes that enabled this new off-sale delivery license also included a fee to be charged for $150. Because of our unique charter system, this is simply a housekeeping issue where we need to, now that it is in effect, we allow by ordinance that fee of $150 to be assessed when processing it. So Jamie can certainly has answered some of your questions as far as what this new type of license is, and certainly if you have any questions, we'd be happy to take them between now and the second reading, and I'd urge your passage to have it considered for a second reading.
Councilor Nicer?
My only question would be, where was the $150 fee? Was that derived from?
It's the exact same amount, Counselor, as stated in state law, the $150 fee.
Oh,
We
it's
just took it
mandated?
Yes, that's already there.
Okay, well, very good, thank you.
Council, would anybody want to set a date hearing, second reading for Tuesday, August 15th?
I would move to set the data hearing.
Councilor Starr, thank you. Councilor Selberg, thank you for the second. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 51.
Item 51 is to set a data hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 22nd, 2017 at 5 p.m. at the Joint City Council Minnehaha County meeting.
Jason?
First reading. An ordinance amending the 2002 revised joint zoning ordinance for Minnehaha County and the City of Sioux Falls by rezoning certain property.
Thank you. My apologies. Jason?
The applicant and owner here is Grace Baptist Church. It's located about 1.5 miles north of Sioux Falls on Cliff Avenue. It's roughly 7 acres in size. This property will continue to be utilized by the church, and then they're looking at constructing a new freestanding sign on the property. This property is located outside of the City of Sioux Falls growth area. However, with the Minnehaha County 2035 comprehensive plan, it is in conformance with their stating of commercial uses along arterial streets.
Jason, thank you. Council, would anybody want to set a data hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 22nd at 5 p.m. at the Joint City Council / Minnehaha County meeting for item 51?
So moved.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Chair Kylie's made that, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Selberg, Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Thank you, Council. Item 52.
Item 52 is a resolution of the City of Sioux Falls approving the preliminary plan of Willow Ridge 3 addition. Planning Commission recommends approval 6-0.
This is the preliminary subdivision plan that went along with the rezoning that we heard earlier in the night. The applicant and owner here is Steve Van Buskert. It's located south of East Madison Street and east of North 6 Mile Road. It's roughly 106 acres, and this will be the Willow Ridge 3rd edition, phase 3, and they're looking at constructing roughly 300 lots. They will extend water and sewer from the existing Willow Ridge development to the south. They will have access to the existing street network to the south. And as Councilmember Erickson had asked earlier, if they do develop over those 30 units, they would have to have a secondary access out of there to the south, or they would have to do a temporary thing to the north. So,
Jason, thank you. Did anybody want to engage the council on this topic? Councilors?
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Rolfing's made a motion to approve this resolution, seconded by Councilor, was that Erpenbach? Thank you, Councilor Erpenbach, thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Nitzert.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 53.
Item 53 is a resolution of the City of Sioux Falls approving the preliminary plan of Springdale Addition. Planning Commission recommends approval 6-0.
The applicant here is Chris Gibbon. The owner is Lloyd Companies. It's located north of East 85th Street and east of South Minnesota Avenue. As you can see, it's just southeast of the proposed Veterans Parkway. It's roughly 13.13 acres in size. The purpose of this specific preliminary plan is they are looking at constructing some multifamily units on the north lot, and then the south lot will be retained for commercial and office uses.
Jason, thank you. Did anybody want to engage the council on this topic? Councilors?
Move to approve.
Second, Erickson.
Councilor Chair Kiley's made a motion to approve this resolution, seconded by Councilor Vice Chair Erickson. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Nitzert.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
That is approved 8-0. Item 54.
Item 54 is a report of the July 13, 2017 Notice of Transfer of Appropriations within Major Organizational Units.
Thank you very much. Council, it's been a very long day for all of you. I appreciate your sacrifice, your stewardship, your leadership. Would anybody want to get out of here?
Move to adjourn.
Thank you. There's been a motion to adjourn by Councilor Rolfing, seconded by Councilor Chair Kiley. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned, Sioux Falls. Make it a great, great night.